Welcome to another edition of Around Town, where we focus in on the people and the places that affect your community. I'm Larry Seaman, your host. Today we're at the beautiful facility here at Massachusetts School of Law in Andover, Massachusetts. And it's a beautiful day, so we thought we'd stop on out here to talk about the American College of History and Legal Studies, which is a newly found college that's actually located in Salem, New Hampshire. And with me right now is Dr. Michael B. Chesson, joining us to talk a little bit about that. It's nice to see you, Doctor.
Good to meet you, Larry.
Tell us a little bit about your background, which I find to be quite interesting.
Well, I did undergraduate work at the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia. I had a history major. Shortly after graduation, I enlisted in the U.S. Navy. And I served about a year and a half, and when I got out, I began graduate school at Johns Hopkins University. After a year, my professor left for Harvard. I followed him. I earned my PhD at Harvard in 1978 and took a tenure-track position at University of Massachusetts, Boston.
All big colleges, all well-known colleges. Now, history is a big part of your background as well.
Yes, it is. I've published, edited, written 4 different titles over the years, probably 60 or 70 book reviews, maybe 18 different articles in scholarly journals and reference books.
Could you talk a little bit about the book and how it talks about that?
Well, my dissertation was on Richmond after the war,
okay,
from 1865 to 1890. It was published in 1981 by the Virginia State Library, now the Library of Virginia, and it was nominated for Pulitzer Prize. It won several other prizes. Since then, in 2001, I came out with Dr. Leslie Roberts at the University of Southern Indiana, a French professor, a co-edited diary of a Creole from New Orleans who spent the last 2 years of the war in Richmond, Virginia. That too won a prize. And in 2003, my edition of the Journal of J. Franklin Dyer, a Union surgeon from Maine, who had settled in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and served the last 3 years of the war in the Army of the Potomac. That was published by the University of Nebraska Press. And also with Dr. Sheldon Stern, the former historian at the Kennedy Library, co-edited a review of 47 state history curriculums plus the District of Columbia for the Fordham Foundation in D.C. I have been on every battlefield or location, particularly in the Eastern Theater in the first year of the war, as part of the research for my next book on the beginning of the Civil War.
William and Mary School. Now, isn't that one of the first colleges?
It's first in terms of its actual beginnings, but because of an Indian massacre in 1622, the opening was delayed a couple of generations, so Harvard took the prize. William and Mary is second to Harvard in terms of actual operation.
Your role in this new college in Salem, New Hampshire, what is it all about?
Well, my role initially was to design most of the courses, I wrote most of the syllabi for individual courses, and some we contacted experts in a particular field. So for American women's history, I reached out to certainly my best graduate student while I was at UMass Boston, Dr. Dana Rose Comey. She did her PhD at Brandeis, and she's now teaching in Newton. But she's a specialist on women's history, and she did the syllabus for the new college.
Great. Talk a bit more about the college itself.
Well, it's a completion college. It's a 2-year school for juniors and seniors only. We accept students with at least 60 academic credits who have the requisite grade point average and other qualifications. There is an entrance exam that's administered, and these are students from at least 10 different area community colleges with which articulation agreements have been negotiated in both southern New Hampshire and northern Massachusetts.
Yeah. The Massachusetts School of Law had some involvement in this, and why did they choose
the guiding force behind the Massachusetts School of Law and the founding dean is Lawrence Velvel.
Okay.
And Larry began the law school on a shoestring as a low-priced alternative to very expensive law schools, a law school for students who perhaps would otherwise not have the opportunity to go to law school or to become professionals in the legal field, and to do it at minimum expense to the students. A lot of innovations behind the law school, and he and his faculty and Associate Dean Mike Coyne have made it work. I think they're about to start their 23rd year of operation. They have over 3,000 graduates. They're practicing law all over the region. And probably 7 or 8 years ago, he began thinking about starting a similar undergraduate college that would allow students to get a BA and then begin law school. And the way it's set up now, if they finish their junior year at the American College of History and Legal Studies, they will be guaranteed admission to the law school. If they complete their first year law school, the BA will be awarded from the American College. And after 2 more years of law school, total of 6 years from freshman at a community college to getting their law degree from the Massachusetts School of Law, they will have both an undergraduate history degree and a law degree.
Right. What's the connection between having the history courses and law courses?
History is widely regarded, and this has been true since I was in high school, if not before. History is generally seen as a good background, a good foundation for students who might be interested in law school, in a legal career. There's a lot of data to assimilate. You have to think about various controversial issues. You have to analyze evidence. In the best courses, the best schools, you have to be able to defend your opinions and amass evidence to support your position. So it can be very good training for law school.
I understand that it won't be a traditional classroom setting. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. We're using a combination of the discussion method that's used here at the law school and the Harkness table from one of the local preparatory schools in Andover. Students sitting around a table, almost seminar style, trying to answer questions put to them by the instructor. Just a series of questions, both broad and general and very narrow and specific, about a particular book that they've been assigned or about related subjects, a variety of topics from the earliest colonial period up to the recent past.
Very good. Will it be like lectures, or will you stay away from
that? There will be some hour-long tests. There will be a comprehensive final exam. In addition to the junior year history course that they're all required to take, 2 semesters, they're going to learn to express their opinion, to explain why they arrived at a particular position, to introduce evidence in written form to support their position, and to summarize their conclusions. And do this in the beginning at a elementary, a sort of a basic level, but gradually as the semester goes on to write longer assignments and more complex papers.
Just a couple of people that are involved in this school as well. Is Maureen Mooney is one of them, right?
Yes.
Do you have any information about her?
She's a hard charger. She's a former member of the New Hampshire legislature. She's a dynamo. Can't say enough about her. I've come to depend upon her enormously in just the past few months. She is the associate dean and also sort of the chief operating officer. She's been getting the keys for the new building and having bookshelves installed in my office and arranging for faculty ID cards and 100 different things. I don't know how she gets it done.
Can you name some of the other professors that will be involved in the opening of the school?
Well, there's Ruth Ellen Post, who is a lawyer and a former dean of a college up in New Hampshire, and she is an experienced writing instructor, writing professor. And there is Andrea Sullivan. Andrea Sullivan. She impressed us in the interview committee enormously. She just, right out of the box, just great interview. And these two writing faculty are going to be working together, but teaching, each of them will teach her own section of the writing course. So these writing sections are labor intensive, and each writing professor is going to be working with just a handful of students, probably fewer than 6. Working with them on their writing skills, trying to strengthen their argumentation and their logic and their vocabularies and their structure and their grammar, their prose style. This is the kind of writing exposure that students at most schools could only dream of.
Dr. Chesson, thank you very much for sitting down and talking to us about this new facility. Sounds like a great idea.
Thank you, Larry. It is a great idea, and I'm really looking forward to getting going.
Excellent. You're watching Around Town with Larry Seaman. Today's subject is the American College of History and Legal Studies, located in Salem, New Hampshire, and the Massachusetts School of Law, which is located in Andover, Massachusetts. Right now we have Lynn Sneerson with us, who is the public relations person for this new college at Salem, New Hampshire, called the American College of History and Legal Studies. Lynn, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate the opportunity.
Tell us about your role here at the new college.
Well, I'm going to be, as we discussed, doing the public relations, and I'm just here to help the school as it gets established and get a foothold in the community, and to help spread the word about what an amazing concept this is in higher education. It's really quite revolutionary.
Could you tell us a little bit about the school?
The school, as I mentioned, is really a revolutionary concept. It is a senior completion college. We're the only one in the country of its type, where we offer only the junior and senior years of undergraduate education. It is also the only school in the country which is going to be teaching a curriculum based exclusively on American history. So the degrees that are granted, we will only be granting bachelor's degrees. We have that ability as granted by the state of New Hampshire, and only a bachelor's degree in history and legal studies.
You'll be focusing in on students of community colleges?
Yes, this is a perfect opportunity for students who have completed community college. We accept people with a minimum of 60 credits. So all of the core courses have to be completed, the math, the sciences, the English, what have you, in addition to certain basic courses. And this is also a marvelous opportunity, Larry, for people who attended a 4-year institution and for one reason or another never completed their bachelor's degrees. So it's for community college transfers and also for 4-year institution transfers. As I said, we will take a minimum of 60 credits and a maximum of 60 credits as well, because the students in the junior and senior year need to complete the entire program. It will be the Harkness method, which is used at Philip Exeter Academy, and the Socratic method of discussion used here at Massachusetts School of Law. So if anybody thinks they can hide in the back of the room and not pay attention and not participate, it doesn't work that way. the students and the professors will be fully engaged with one another throughout every class.
You folks are breaking new ground here, history and law studies.
Indeed, it is quite remarkable. As I mentioned, we are the only college of its kind in the country.
Now, I mentioned it was in Salem, New Hampshire, but could you give us a little more details as to where it's located and what the facility is like?
Sure. We're starting out, everything new has to start a little small. You know, the longest, not to be trite and use a cliche, but it is true that the longest journey does begin with the smallest step. So we will be located at 1 Stiles Road in Salem in Suite 104, starting out, and we've converted the office space into being more of a college classroom type of space, with classrooms, with a library, with offices, and hopefully we'll soon grow out of that space and have our own campus.
Okay, so a little bit of a wrap-up here.
Well, I think that the American College of History and Legal Studies is a wonderful opportunity for people who have a minimum of 2 years of college under their belt and would like to complete the bachelor's degree, which, you know, is so necessary in today's world. It's becoming increasingly more difficult to compete in the job market without a bachelor's degree, so it's essential that people complete that. And for those who do want to be lawyers and who do choose to go on, the college provides a guaranteed pathway for qualified students to be able to go right into the Massachusetts School of Law and combine their first year of law school and their senior year of the undergraduate college, so that they will be able to get a BA and a JD, a Juris Doctorate, in 6 years rather than the traditional 7. And what that enables them to do, obviously, is you save an awful lot of money on tuition, and you certainly save time on your way to becoming a lawyer. And in terms of tuition, if I may, I'd like to say that this college is extremely affordable. I think we all know today what's happening to the cost of higher education in this country. It's absolutely skyrocketing. Consequently, a bachelor's degree has really become out of reach for a great many people. The American College of History and Legal Studies has an annual tuition of only $10,000, and half tuition scholarships are available, again, for qualified students. So people do have the opportunity to come and get their bachelor's degrees here for a $5,000 a year tuition only, which is extraordinary. So it's going to be a rigorous, high-quality education provided that will prepare our graduates to compete with anybody in today's marketplace, and yet it's extremely affordable at the same time. The classes will be at night. They will be taught in the evenings at our Salem campus, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings from 6 until 10 p.m. And that, again, allows people who need to work and want to work to be able to do so while completing their bachelor's degree. So for anyone who wants to finish their education, complete their education, and then go on to law school or any other field which they may choose, this is an incredible opportunity.
Finally, contact information, the most important part of this interview.
The best way to get more information at your fingertips as we live in this information age is to go onto our website, which is www.achls.org. And that way you can get all the information, have all the contact information, can request a catalog, can tour the campus, schedule a visit, and certainly get an application to fill out to come to the college. And I can't stress again what a phenomenal opportunity this is, because while the college is small in our first year, the education will be amazing, because the students will get such individualized attention from 3 extraordinary educators, Dr. Chesson, Dr. Fusco, and Dr. Post. And where better to get such hands-on, one-on-one teaching. Makes me want to go back to college, Larry.
I was just going to say, sign me up, sign me up. Thank you, Lynn. Very good. Thanks.
Thanks, Larry. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, since we're at the Massachusetts School of Law in Andover, Mass., we might as well talk with the Dean, Michael Coyne. It's good to talk with you.
It's nice to talk to you. Thanks for coming down.
Talk a little bit about your background and what led you to here.
Well, about 22 years ago, we decided to start the law school. What we thought in starting it is that it should have a much more practical bent. It should be modeled much more along the lines of the medical school model as opposed to a strictly academic institution. And I was practicing law in Boston back then. I was teaching part-time, and I met the dean, and about another half a dozen of us did, and we left our practices, mine in Boston. He had been a lawyer in Washington, D.C. for many years preceding that, and what we decided to do is build this law school modeled much more along the lines of the way a medical school would look. Like we like to say is that you wouldn't go see a doctor if that doctor, the first time he ever operated on you was the first time he ever touched a patient. Well, we like to have that type of experience in law school. So our law students will have simulated client experiences. We'll try cases in a courtroom where no one's going to go to jail at the end of the day. They will write and learn to write as a good advocate should over the course of their studies. And what you'd find is that when we welcome in practicing judges and lawyers and other experts in who day-to-day are in court or in a governmental agency, they can bring that experience in to teach a student not just what the theory of law is like, but the practice of law is like. And so that's why we started the law school. While I came here, the reason I came here is it made sense to me, having been a practicing lawyer in Boston for 7 years at that point, that if we were going to teach people how to actually practice law, the people doing it should be judges and experts and lawyers, not just professors who study the law, but our professors not only study the law but continue to engage in some level of practice so they can bring that experience to the classroom.
Could you go a little bit further as to what kind of law courses you give?
Sure. One of the principal things we try to encourage and develop in our students here is their advocacy skills. We have a very strong trial and appellate advocacy program. And so in the first year, a student will take the basic building block courses that they'd take probably at any law school across the country: contracts, torts, civil procedure, criminal law, stuff you see sort of on TV, which sometimes Law and Order does actually have some value for those that are interested in law school. But then beyond that first year experience, where much of it is spent in the classroom, we then get students on their feet experiencing how to try a criminal law case, how to argue a suppression motion, how to draft a will and trust if that's what they would be inclined to do in the future, and how to mediate disputes. So what we try to do is give them both the theory of law, the standard type courses and the standard knowledge you'd expect your lawyer to have, but also to have them start to work with that so they can be more effective practitioners when they leave the law school.
Just out of curiosity, you were mentioning TV shows and stuff like that. Do you ever do a class on Perry Mason or any of the current law shows that they have?
You know what's funny about that is I teach both criminal law and criminal procedure, which is one of the courses I teach. And students come in full of knowledge from the TV show Law and Order. And it isn't that bad. There are worse TV shows that if you're going to get your legal background from. And another good, when we talk about movies that help a student, is that the many trial advocacy programs actually use, believe it or not, the greatest trial lawyer of all time, my cousin Vinny, to teach them what to do and what not to do. And so people will use pieces from that movie to actually teach students about cross-examination, direct examination, certainly not what to wear in court, but about the practical application. And many of the national programs will do so as well.
You ever bring in guest speakers?
Oh, sure. We have both judges. We had Danny Ainge here last year, came in to talk to our sports law group, to talk to them about not just what the law part of it is, but the business part of the practice is like as well. We're bringing a lot of experts in because law actually isn't just practiced in a courtroom anymore. Most major companies have a legal department and have legal problems and the like. So we bring a number of guest speakers from a number of different areas in to speak to our students.
Now, the American College of History and Legal Studies, which I said correctly this time,
it's a mouthful.
is adopting some of the philosophy, more or less, of the classroom experience here.
Sure. What we think a good classroom experience for any student should be is a relatively small classroom space, whether it's 10 or 20 students or even more, that the student should be actively engaged in learning during the course of attendance in that classroom. And so what you would find, whether it's in the law school or at the history college, would be that they will not be lectured to, but they will be actively thinking. Their thoughts will be challenged with questions. They'll be solving problems. They'll really be thinking about what the next step to a solution to a problem is. And like in law school, like in the real world, anytime they think they're close to a solution to the problem, we'll add in additional facts or give them additional things to think about so that they can stretch their thinking even further. What we hope to do, both in the law school and at the college level, is to create good, creative problem solvers, good thinkers, people who can deal with difficult subjects and not just deal with it in the traditional sense of getting rid of the problem, but really thinking through it so that they can be better problem solvers in the real world.
What's your role in the Massachusetts School of Law TV series?
We have, as you know, we have a number of different programs that we produce over the course of a year. We've done that actually since shortly after the founding of the school. I produce various programs as well as moderate some of the programs. And again, those topics range. We do everything from programs in animal law to advocacy work to great works of writing that are being introduced on a monthly basis to different people. And what we try to do, and it's always been our philosophy, is to, as an academic institution, to bring some of the knowledge that passes through the academic institution and make it more readily available to people in the public and hopefully entertain them in the process.
Very good. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Dean.
Nice seeing you.
The school has a very good reputation, and I'm glad that I got a chance to talk with you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming down.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Larry Seaman of Around Town, and I'll see you around town.